15th. I was trying to catch a plane. I was in some city. The directions to the airport were complicated. I felt lost. I had to recycle some things. Al was with me.
It's showing up again.
Helping. He was in no hurry. He went across the street to talk to a friend. I went on recycling my last thing. Then I was at the airport. I had to wait in a small line. I was called up to the desk to process my ticket. The man at the desk asked for my ID. I kept going through my pockets trying to find my ID. I kept looking in my pockets. Someone came and took the desk away. Me and the ticket man were just standing there in an empty hall and me looking for my ID.
Yeah, okay, well, that's pretty interesting. Hi, Dawn. I love your post on the spiders that you did on Facebook. That was really good. I mean, it's it was kind of your what really was I think that riveting about it was sort of your introduction to the unconscious, and it's a really good one. I mean, it's the spider, but I know it could be disturbing. Anyway, I put Roy's dream in the chat again. So why don't we get started? Okay, so we are trying to leave Earth. We are looking for the vehicle that leaves Earth, the one that is an ascent. Now we are in an unknown city. And I think the thing that is most, is it an unknown city?
Yeah, I don't know which city it was.
Okay, but the most.
It was in the States.
Yes, but it's a maze of streets that we're unfamiliar with. So it's really, it's sort of like a labyrinth or something,
Felt like it.
Yes, because the ego is overwhelmed. It doesn't know how to get to the airport. It doesn't know how to get to the place to leave Earth to have an ascent. Ego does not know how to do that. Now this has got some wonderful transitions here. Okay, so there's no point of orientation. It can't get to the place of ascent alone. It needs some help. Just a second. There he is here. Here he is right on top. Let me put it in here one more time. Okay. Hey, Gary.
Hey.
I just put Roy's. How you doing?
Good.
Great. I just put Roy's dream in the.
Oh yeah,
chat.
I see it. Cool.
Had a real, we did a little meditation Friday. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was just nice to do it unhurried and everything. Well, anyway, we, basically, I'm going to put it in the chat one more time here. Okay. All righty, there you go. Okay, hi, Tim. I just put the dream in the chat. This is Roy's dream from August 18th. And you want to just summarize it one more time, Gary or Roy? Or just
well, they can read it.
Yeah, okay, just read it.
It's not very long. You can
I mean,
right
essentially, he's in an unknown city. He's looking for the airport. He can't find it. Then Al comes. Well, I'll just go through the images here. Okay, first of all, we're trying to leave Earth. We are going to this unknown city to leave Earth in the vehicle that leaves Earth. Now, that doesn't, Roy leaves Earth quite a bit, but we're going into a maze, right? To leave Earth, we have to go in, and we have to go into a place that's the unknown city with unknown streets, and we don't have directions, and we don't know how to get there. So it essentially tells us what every dream and fairy tale tells us: the ego can't help you. Now you need helpers, some kind of unconscious helpers, usually animals or nature helpers, but in this case, now there's a much different helper or thing. There's a task we have to perform. I'm thinking we have to recycle things. So there are things in our life that need renewal and refreshment because they no longer are effective, and so they can't be used again. In other words, these important aspects that we have to have to become usable again, recycled. There's two. I was just thinking when I was thinking about it. I mean, one is you can recycle plastic. That's being used again. It's an empty vessel or something that used to contain something, but now it's just trash otherwise. So it needs to be reformed and transformed back into something that the consciousness can use. So right now we have a lot of things that consciousness can't use, and they need to be renewed or refreshed. Okay. So but then suddenly who shows up? Al. Now let's see what Al is doing. Al is, remember, this friend of Roy's, who's a Taoist, who's appeared in at least 3 dreams, maybe that you brought, Okay. And he was helping us renew and refresh. Remember, he helped us a couple times. He helped us, but one time he just sat in the stream or stood in the stream and didn't do anything. Remember that one?
Yeah, I was going to the airport in that one.
Yeah.
And that was helpful.
Yes. Okay.
The house doesn't have to do anything. Just being in your dreams being helpful.
Just being
That's
there.
the animal helper right there.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to use directed thinking to get anywhere. He's going to use a different method. And one of them he is using here is to help us renew and refresh, not in any hurry. That's another thing. The goal is the process. The goal is the journey. There's no goal. What we do is and that's a very feminine thing to do. We just process things. We're not so worried about the product, but just the act of doing. So we're not in a rush. There's no rush. We don't have a quota to fill or whatever. And then he goes across the street to talk to a friend. So he's knows people in the unknown city. The unknown city, of course, seems to me it's the psyche, the unconscious, and he knows people there. I think he's known people that we don't know earlier. I might be forgetting, but anyway, so we went on recycling until we recycled the last thing. Okay, now suddenly that's the transition. Okay, so animal helpers, the Taoist is helping us. We need to take things that have lost their effectiveness and renew and refresh them. So basically give them the water of life. You don't remember how you renewed things or recycled things, do you? Just put them in a recycling bin, or?
Well, I don't know what exactly I was recycling or how in the dream.
Just we are just taking something that is old and unusable and has no further use, and we are trying to make it reusable. Okay. Anyway, so after we have recycled the last thing, suddenly we have a transition. We're at the airport. We magically are at the airport. Do you remember the shift? It just after you recycled the last thing, suddenly you're in the airport. Yeah. Okay. Well, so anyway, that was what needed to be done to find our way in the maze. Okay. So then now when we get there, there is another hurdle. Okay. We must prove or establish either who or what we are, you know. And if we don't establish who or what we are, they won't let us proceed. There's some aspect that there needs to be a bona fides. You know, I was when I read that, I remembered this patient of Thomas Patrick Levin, who was a Jungian analyst in Chicago, and he was telling about works a lot with AA too, but he had a patient who was in a near-death experience, and he asked while she's in this death experience, so that she hears a voice and says, "Who are you?" And she says, "Well, I'm so and so." So I didn't ask your name. I asked, "Who are you?" And then she says, "Well, I'm the wife of so and so, and I have some kids." And he says, "I didn't ask who you're married to and what your family is. I asked, who are you?" And she says, "Well, my parents were so and so, and I work at some place." He says, "I didn't ask who your parents were or ask where you work. I asked, who are you?" So, I mean, when she came out of the near-death experience, he said that she spent the rest of her life trying to find out who she was. And you know what Gerhard Dorn said too, which is very important to me. I don't know if it is to anybody else, but he says, and I think it was important to Jung too, he says, it's more important to know what you are rather than who you are. Okay. Now, the idea is the most important part of us is not our phenomenal existence in the outer world. There's something much more important. What are you? What are you? Not who are you. So that is the idea of an alchemy, that you personify the objective. So in other words, the contents of the unconscious, you give them names, you talk to them, they become real, you know, by personifying them. And then the other aspect is to objectify the personal. And that means you sit in the arena and watch yourself. You have this kind of a mirroring aspect where you are in the arena, you are doing whatever it is you do in the arena, yet you're observing yourself from here objectively. You know, so you establish distance. For instance, if you have a let's say you get, now this, remember, if you remember the Kundalini chakra by Jung that he did, it's the fifth chakra, you know, okay. It's the place where of purgation, you know, it's where you say this, yes, look at me, I'm angry, but that's not me, you know. I'm looking at this anger, but I'm looking at it from over here where I'm not angry. And so I'm just observing myself as an angry person, you know, and then I have this distance from it. Anyway, that's, I just thought about those things. So we have to establish either who or what we are. And no matter what we do, we're like the woman in Levin's patient in the near-death experience. We can't establish who we are or what we are. And so we're kind of left in limbo. And then there's the one other aspect is that this man is sitting at a desk, behind a desk. Is it behind a desk or a counter? you know,
A desk.
a desk. So
Yeah.
he's sitting behind a desk, and suddenly so that sort of establishes a barrier between you and
A
that
barrier.
person. Yes. And then suddenly that barrier is removed. Now this person who needs your identity, needs to know, who are you? Well, I'm Roy Schoen. I didn't ask your name. I want to know, who are you? And you search all your pockets. There is, you just keep looking and looking, and you can't find it. So where is our ID? You know, I mean, we can't produce it. So that's kind of how the dream ends. What do you think, Charles?
I'm kind of still thinking about it right now. I have some very vague thoughts, but I'm trying to formulate them at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, just just say that. Well, Gary, I would just say the simplest things you can say about what's the most surprising thing, what's the most puzzling thing. What do you think, Gary? You're very good at going into your Zen and.
Well, I
What do you
really
think?
like what you've said so far. I've got maybe a different take on the desk. The desk is like a premise of the whole situation of the scenario, but the premise is removed. So the premise no longer exists. And what do we end up with? Something very Zen-like. The empty hall. And the emptiness means all possibilities are now there. And that, that he's there with Al, this just feels like it's like anything is now possible because the projections, which could have been the ego projections, have been removed. And if all the projections are gone, now we can see the truth or an essence.
That's wonderful. Now, think about what Gary said. The premise initially is the desk. It's an official act. Where is your ID? And the desk means the ordinary ID. But when the desk is removed, it's now this man has become Al-like. You're in an empty hall, just you and him. There's no now by empty hall. Do you mean it's only you two in it, Roy?
That's right. No furniture, no chairs, no other people, no nothing. Just
Yeah, so
empty hall of me and him.
Yeah, Gary really picked up on that. So this person, once the desk removed, that, like Gary said, the premise has been removed, that it has moved from an official act to something else. Now, so that's a beautiful way. Thank you, Gary. That's so important. But now we have to put this with that there was things to get even to this point. We needed there was things, contents of our existence, which had lost their power. They were no longer had any light of energy, or they were dead. They needed to be brought back to life. This was kind of like Shu's deer that needed to be shocked. We needed to somehow bring these contents back to life. Once we had brought them back to life, we go to the second transition. Who are you? Okay. First, I got to show him my driver's license or something. But then now it's removed. Now it's you and him. What do you think, Tim? That's beautiful, Gary. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, I like that that phrase, the premise. I was kind of thinking of the desk as like the practical approach or the structure that supports the process.
Mhm.
And without that, only the human elements remain. I find myself chewing on the idea that what is identity? You know, who is who here? And the identity, according to tradition, is determined by what you carry in your pockets. And so it's like the person says to you, well, okay, who are you? And the first thing you have to do is say, well, geez, just a minute, you know. It feels really artificial. It feels like, why is it that we can't just use our face as our identity, or the tone of our voice, or anything like that?
Mhm.
Um,
What was the name of Buddha? He was called Tathagata, the one thus come. There needs to be no explanation of where he came from. He is here. What else do you need to know?
yeah.
But I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Sorry, Tim.
So it occurs to me that after the recycling, the ID disappears. So I wonder, the concept of recycling anything that has lost its effectiveness, I think is right on. And what does that do to your identity? Like if I remember my brother, when he was in seminary, he realized that he was using his sense of humor as sort of his ticket in social situations. Oh, I am my sense of humor. And he had to sort of abandon his ticket, because that's not really who he is. It's just sort of a performance, a mask.
Mhm.
And then a similar idea is the transition to the airport is made at the cost of the ID. So there's no problem with the ID when you're with your friend, but all of a sudden at the airport, it's up in the air. I'm not sure what to make of all that, but it sure is a compelling problem.
The mystery is deepening.
Yeah.
It really is. First of all, what you said is absolutely right on. I think that one of the aspects of asking for the ID has to do with the fact of our transformation through renewal and refreshing the things that were not useful anymore. At that point, if there's psychic aspects, have we moved closer to personality number 2 from personality number 1? You know, suddenly, when after we recycle the last thing, we just magically appear in the place we could of the Grail Castle. We magically appear in the Grail Castle. You know, before we couldn't find it. I mean, you know, you go past over and back and forth over the same ground where the Grail Castle was, and you can't see it. But after this, so there's an aspect that there has been a shift of the center of gravity of ego through the renewal and refreshment of that which is dead in us. And once we have renewed and refreshed that is which dead in us, our center of gravity has shifted. So now we are in the place where you leave Earth, okay, and make an ascent to a higher level. And the question is, who is your identity? You don't have any paperwork from that person before the dead things were brought to life again. You know? So it is now, you have a new identity, and there's no paperwork for that identity. And then so the premise of what Gary says, which is sort of, I think, the premise of the dream maker. You know, he removes that and says, No, it's not about the desk. It's not about your government ID. It's just you, Roy, and the wisdom of the depths now. Now tell me who you are. Now prove to me who you are. And then you can, and you couldn't have done that until you brought those items that had died in you back to life. You know, Charles, what do you think about this? I mean, don't you see? I mean, it's just the mystery is deepening. That just really great depths. Tim and Gary, you've really helped out. What do you think, Charles? Any digestion that you've done that you didn't have before?
I mean, what everyone said definitely, you know, makes sense to me. I don't know. It's not my dream, so I mean, nothing like majorly clicked with me. I'm trying to understand what. Well, I don't know. It says I was trying to catch a plane. So does this mean that, Roy, you were just trying to get a last minute trip somewhere, or like, you know, is this flying just for fun? You're trying to get somewhere specific? And I don't know, I'm just trying to understand the image of like flying on a plane as it regards to Roy and what, you know, what that means for him.
You know, right. I mean, why don't you talk about it? I mean, often, I know both you and Charles and Tim and Gary too, when you actually talk about it, then suddenly we find out maybe a little different take on it. Go ahead. What do you think so far?
Well, it was similar to when I was going to go to the airport the other time when I was in a dream standing in a stream. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if it was for pleasure or business or what. It didn't really matter to me. And in this dream, it didn't matter to me either. It was just that it's like the will. Whose will? My will? The collective unconscious will? Somebody's will. That's all that it was. It was just the will. And so it made me anxious, and I did what I could do to get to the airport and catch the plane. But the ironical thing was that there I was standing in an empty hall, just me and this other human. We didn't have anything to identify ourselves. One of us could have said, "Who do you serve?" or "What is wrong?"
Yes.
We could have been standing in the Grill Castle, but of course we weren't aware of that. And so there wasn't a destination.
No, and Al's showing up automatically, I think, gives us another context here. What do you think the context of Al is?
He's the Taoist.
Yes.
You know, the Taoist, which is the animal helper, but he was
Yes.
taking a human form.
Nature. He's a nature helper because he's a creature, a being of nature, you know, one who's dedicated to just the to letting things happen, yeah, and acceptance of what of fate and what happens. And see that's what is a very feminine thing, is that whatever happens to us, we don't react with well, what causes anger usually, I mean, I've heard this, what causes people to get angry is when the ego wants things to go one way and they're not going that way. So then we get angry. But if the ego was thinking it would go that way, and it didn't go that way, and it just said, well, you know, who was it, Dorothy Parker used to say, what fresh hell is this? You know, I mean, we're just going to deal with whatever the situation is, you know. And so Al is the nature helper. You go to the, you're going to, there's a task that has appeared before us. We don't know why. They're just a task. We have an appointment with going to a higher level and leaving this place that we are now. But to do that, we have to go to the unknown city. But the ego is lost there. Now, through the help of Al and through revivifying that which is dead in us, we transition to the place where we now can leave this, say, banal place we are, this ordinary place we are, and go to a place that has psychic magic, you know. And first, so we're there, but suddenly there's the pretense, or that's the word I was thinking, the pretense or the premise that to have this, we have to show our ID. But then, okay, we're looking for the ordinary ID, but you know, our ID is not the ordinary ID. Our gold is not the common gold, you know, and to show that everything is removed from the room that has anything to do with officiality. And now we are in an empty Zen-like room, you know, one that is, it is sort of like all like Inanna, everything's been stripped from it. And so now it's just us. See, now it is an I-thou relationship between us and the unconscious. And now the ID that we have to produce is not the common ID. And that, I think, is the message. So we don't get on the plane, but at least we know that what we know is that we need to produce that ID that is not the common ID. You know, and it happened through an unknown task, going to the unknown city, and a task unknown by how we became. It was laid upon us, and becoming ego lost, doesn't know where it is, and then Al shows up. Al kind of without saying anything, it lets us be known that there are nature aspects within us and instinctual aspects within us which are dead and need revivification. And once they are revivified, suddenly we find ourselves in a place of great transformation, that place that leaves the ordinary earth and goes somewhere else, you know. And then there's the pretense and the premise is removed, and now it's just us and that other being that we need to tell them, we need to let them know who we are. I think it isn't so much he wants to know, he wants proof of who we are. We need to recognize our ID ourselves. And once we recognize our ID ourselves, then we have provided that identity to the unconscious. I mean, the unconscious is waiting for us to realize that you can't show me a driver's license here. That's not what is required, and that is what Gary said. So with that great insight, that when the desk is removed, that's what it's saying. I was thinking, let's hear what everybody else has to say. But my my mother's brother and another and my mother's cousin were in charge of this very old cemetery here near, just maybe 5 miles from here. And it's an old Indian cemetery. It's been here since the 1840s. And all of my relatives are buried there, my mother's relatives. And I was out there one time, and this gal, her name's Frida, is out there with the clipboard and a visor, and she's looking around. I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "Well, I have to tell the diggers where to dig." And she says, "But sometime when I tell them to dig there, they dig there, and somebody's already buried there, and we don't know who it is." And it said to her, I said, "Well, why don't you just take out their billfold and look at their driver's license?" And anyway, I just thought about that. What, Charles, do you have any final comments on it, or, and then?
No, not really.
Okay. All right. How about you, Gary? Any other observations or thoughts?
Oh,
about
it just has that feeling of like a Carlos Castaneda type of thing, where it's like, here's Carlos Castaneda, he's stuck at the surface, but he knows there's something huge underneath, and you're just waiting for that grand awakening. And things are being shown to him here, he's got out there, the things that are dead are recycled. He goes to the desk. It's like, no, this isn't about the desk. Let's just pull this away. Let's try this again. It's like, the funny thing is, this is so much like Roy saying to us, you guys, you just don't get it. You just don't get it,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it feels to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a, Roy's dreams are so elemental with with all these great shamanic animals and showing up. And Tim, what do you think? And then I got one question for Roy.
I'm kind of backing up and looking at it from a distance, and it seems to me that what the image gets across to me is this kind of admonition. If you want to ascend, you have to totally discover your authentic self, capital S self. And that seems like a lifetime process, just constantly emptying your pockets and trying to become and removing the furniture and all the other distractions and just being yourself. I think that's a pretty powerful statement.
It is. And you mentioned that word process. What it really is, it's like the poem in Little Gidding, where, you come back to the place where you started and see it for the first time, because there is never an end to the process. It just is, a circumambulation of the center, and you get closer and closer. So things start to become real that weren't real on the last iteration. There's something came in. But now, Roy, how do you fit this in with like the shoe-billed stork and some of the dreams where you've seen really this very primordial God, and now you went to the unknown city. And I mean, don't you think now you're more involved? Well, there was the deal that it's similar to me to the one where you're going down the place that everything looks the same. You get out, you walk out to into the desert, and then suddenly you come to the reeds on the hill, sort of the wheat on the hill, and then go down by the river. There's an aspect here that is somewhat now in that case though, there seemed to be, you had reached another level. Here, you never get out of the waiting room. What do you think?
And also, Dawn says she's got something to add too.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Dawn. Did you want to unmute? Or do you want to just put it in the chat? Let me see if I can get the chat up. I have something contrast, but I don't imagine it will help, trying to find some way to contribute. Well, just Dawn, just tell us. Oh, you can't unmute. Let me see if I can unmute. Ask to unmute. I think last time. Gary, do you have any technical expertise on this?
Well, remember last time the problem was when whoever it was connected, they didn't connect through the computer audio. And so if Don gets out and gets back in and then connects through the computer audio, when that option comes up, that might.
Yeah, don't do dial in or whatever. There is something that says computer audio. Did you want to do that, Dawn? And then I'm gonna, while you're doing that, I can try to type it in. Yeah, well, why don't you? Yeah, go ahead and just type in just simple observations you have. You know, because I saying, Dawn, nobody here is. We're all you know, sort of grasping, you know. But I think what's fun is as you grasp it, the mystery deepens, and suddenly there starts to be clarity in the fog a little bit, you know. But anyway, unless Roy has some final comments about it, we have about an hour left. Is if either Tim or Charles or Gary have a dream, or Dawn.
Well, Roy was about to say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Roy.
Well, I thought Craig asked me a question, but I'm not sure. But,
Okay.
you know, I think I understand the dream. I've been there before. You know, the unconscious is just like you were saying, Tim, my authenticity, who I really am, you know, what is the Royness? Who is Royness? You know, my uniqueness, that's my real ID. And that's something you spend your whole life trying to piece together. And that's, I think, what the collective unconscious was confronting me with.
Your essence, you know, I mean, the idea of the essence too is, you know, Jung has this thing about essence. It's anything you name is not your essence. You know, he says the idea is that we are indescribable. You know, I mean, and so when you're talking about your Royness, you know, I mean, my heart just started to leap when you said that.
Well, that's ineffable, but I mean, I recognize it. It's my Royness, which what precedes me and it will go after me. It's ineffable. I can't explain it with words, but I know it exists.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is an aspect, it doesn't have anything to do with the ego. It has an aspect, I think what your Royness is that massive root that lies under the earth. And you start to get intimations of where it's heading. Its rudder is different than the Roy up above a little bit, you know. And so it is, and then when you get more and more in sync with the root below, then you really are creating, you know, Jung says you're creating yourself by doing that. You know, I mean, it's just it really is wholeness. I mean, because you're I think the center of gravity is now moving closer to the root and away from the outer world, you know. But I was going to see if I could find, I know there's just this wonderful statement that Jung makes about the, well, here's one, this is one. You know, the active imaginations are more important than dreams because they represent mixing and fusing of the conscious with the unconscious. This is the solution of the opposites, the middle way. Through this, you can find direction. You can find the way. Of course, it tires you because you are doing a terrific piece of creative work. You are creating yourself by this. You are creating the moral solution for yourself. Go on, follow along with them, and soon it will bring you to the fitting form for your unconscious. You know, I mean, it's, see, this is the royness, you know.
Yeah, that's the royness.
Yes, it is this it's just beautiful. You're creating yourself by that.
And then everybody has to do it in their own way. They don't have the same moral problems I have, or paradoxes and dilemmas. Everybody's set of things is different, and they have to find their own creative solution to it. That's what's so fascinating. It's just incredible.
The same destiny, the same fate. You know, I think what's more important is not so much the problems, but the destiny that has been laid upon you, and that it unfolds with our cooperation, you know, rather than our resistance. You know, isn't that, I mean, if only that could happen. You know, it's just go ahead.
Well, Dawn put a comment in here that I think is fascinating. I'll just go ahead and read this.
Yeah, please.
She says, I had one where I was asked for an ID and there was a circus tent, 3 layers, I think. So when Gary mentioned that, I decided to talk. In mine, I was panicking because I couldn't find mine. And what scared me the most was that I had no idea who the hell I was. I actually couldn't remember, not even my name. Roy did not have that feeling. He couldn't find the ID, but he didn't question who he is.
Yeah, yes, that's very good. And it's wonderful that isn't that a dream that you remember? That was a dream, Dawn? Is that what she said? It was a dream. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's just see, now I think in this case, initially, Roy is looking for the outer ID, but I don't think that's what they want. They don't want our outer ID. They want our Royness. Okay, here's one. What is, you've all heard this, what Rabbi Zusya says, that when I get to heaven, they're not going to ask me, why weren't you more like Abraham? And why weren't you more like Moses? What they're going to ask me is, why weren't you more like Susya? You know, why weren't you more like Leroyness? You know, why weren't you more like Roy? I mean, that's what they're going to ask you when you get there. Not why weren't you more like Abraham or Moses? Weren't you more like yourself? Why weren't you your authentic being in your whole life? Now, Al, don't you think, is one of these beings who somehow did it, but did it very, very simply? You know, I mean, did he have he seems like he does it with ease and simplicity. He just is who he is, you know, and there doesn't seem to be any question about it, you know, about who he is or what he is. I mean, because I think there's a certain amount of surrender of the willful side of himself. And then after he's surrendered the willful side of himself, the now the real Al can shine through. Before the opaqueness of the outer Al occluded the real, the genuine, our real genuine being from being displayed. And I think that is the aspect here, is we need to remove the outer Roy so that the inner Roy can finally, why weren't you more like your genuine self? Why weren't you more like Zeus? You know, I mean, I think that's
Yeah, it
kind of
reminds me what you were talking about Sunday, like we're in a spaceship and so we're exploring out there, and all the collective unconscious asks is to be part of the expedition.
yes. It
And
wants,
but the collective unconscious doesn't understand how hard it is out there in the spaceship. I mean, the spaceship is the world, the exterior world, and it's artificially constructed. Like you have to have an ID and all this stuff. And I don't know how about other people, but for me, it takes every damn thing I got to keep up with it, to do it, you know, the outside world, because it's so demanding. I mean, you have to feed yourself, you have to shelter yourself, you have to deal with other people, you know, it's just on and on. And it's just exhausting. Well, they don't have any of that stuff in the collective unconscious. So, you know, we're out here in a spaceship having to deal with all this stuff that the collective unconscious is totally doesn't have the experience of. And you're trying to explain that to the collective unconscious. It's very hard, you know. So come on, you feel like Job sometime, man. You just lose it. You just start screaming at the collective unconscious. You know, it's killing me out here, man. You have no idea.
yeah, you know, that was something too that Lillian Fry Roan, I mean, she was the one time at a Christmas party, Franz Young, his young son, and his grandson came dressed as the Black Santa, and then they started to make fun of everybody at the Christmas party, you know. And one of the things they said about Lillian Fry Roan was, you know, Young would go to the Iranos conference in Ascona, and you know, they'd take all these pictures and put them in the yearbook. And Franz Young and his son are just up there, and they say, "Is it true that there is a picture of Young at Ascona without Lillian Fry Roan in the frame?" I mean, she seemed to be in every picture. But anyway, one of the things she said that she learned early at the Young, working with Young, is they didn't have a lot of patience for personal problems. You know, she said that they were too busy trying to you know, work with personality number two. I mean, they were just leaving everything behind. Of course, they were in a sort of a hermetically sealed place. We're not, you know, we're not in the university type of thing, and we don't have time to devote, you know, Tony Wolfe would go to analysis 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day, and that included holidays. You know, she never skipped, you know, and we don't have that luxury. You know, I mean, we're just humans, but yeah, I mean, it is. But I think, Roy, that there is some. This is a great dream. I think it is that Rabbi Zusya, who, you know, geez, it's getting so dark. Okay, yeah, it's just. You have any final comments on it, Roy?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm still looking at it as the finding my Royness, and you know, and I have to be reminded of that a lot, because I'm not a regular person in the world. Like you were talking about these Jungian patients that had personal problems. You know, I'm way past personal problems. If I just had personal problems, I could have an affinity with other people. You know, I could just be a regular person. And people don't realize that that's a great luxury. But once you leave that realm, you know, you're out in the dark forest. You don't have that anymore, and you can't expect anybody to understand. And so it's just between you and the unconscious.
Yeah, that is I think the main thing. Don't you think that's the main point? It's just between you and that God.
Well, yeah, if you go to the dark forest, but most people can't do that. I mean, just forget it. It ain't going to happen in this lifetime.
And it happened through the help of Al, your nature, your helping friend, and through revivifying those instinctive aspects of you that are dead, you know. And then we get there. It was a pretense as well as a premise that they wanted your ID, but that's not what they wanted. They wanted you to shine through.
Well, that's where I am. You know, that's where I am. Who wants to go there? Who wants to face that?
Well, anyway, that's a wonderful dream. I mean, I would never have guessed it. That was what it was about when I first read it. Charles or Tim or Gary, do you have a dream? We have what about 36 minutes? I mean, if we could spend about approximately 20 minutes on each, and then we can finish it on Wednesday if we don't get through it. Yeah, Dawn, how's it going? Can you unmute now, or?
I had a pretty big dream last night.
Okay, well, I love the last night aspect. Tim, and why don't we spend, let's see, 16, 6, 36, 18. Well, we'll go on this stream till about, say, about 12 or 13 after, and then, Tim, let's work on yours. But we'll just introduce it, Charles. Go ahead.
Okay, so the whole premise of this dream that is not explicitly clear by what events take place in the dream is that I am being constantly tested by the devil, and the devil is giving me these sorts of trials and tasks, and every thing that he asks me to do is a step towards embodiment, and as I like to call it, coagulation. That was just abundantly clear in the beginning of the dream from my memory. And so the actual events that take place are, I'm in a living room of a house at night, and it's quite dark. And my friend Chase is sitting with his dad watching TV. That's the only light in the room, the light from the TV. And I have a handful of colored pencils, and I'm trying to leave. There is a bunch of sheets that I'm crawling under that are sort of like a tent made out of blankets and sheets that like a kid would set up in the living room. And I'm crawling under them. And they're pretty transparent. I can see through them. And I can see Chase's father very clearly, and I drop a bunch of colored pencils on the hardwood floor and make a sound. And I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me. I just say, like, "Can you see me?" And he's like, "Yes, I can see you." And I laughed and said, "Oh, that makes sense. I can see you very clearly, so I get this not just one way. And all of a sudden there's a knocking at the door, and it's a police officer. And I run out from under the sheets and jump on the bed, or not the bed, but the couch, and hide under a blanket while Chase and his father answer the door. The police officer has a baby boy that he hands them, and I burst into tears and am very just kind of overwhelmed by this, because I know that it means that this baby boy is an orphan and is abandoned, and this is another test from the devil, and the test that, you know, is that I must now take care of this baby. And the baby had a couple of tattoos on his shoulders and a piercing through his nose. And yeah, that was the dream. You're muted still. Oh.
Yeah,
Boy,
I
there's
was
a lot
having,
to it.
yeah, I was having some dog issues, but yeah. Okay, now let's just first talk, I mean, the devil it's an interesting image that the devil is giving us trials and tests to embody ourselves and to coagulate ourselves, which is what we really need to do. Now, the devil, remember the devil is the aspect, the devil is usually, okay, it is first of all, it is someone who is someone who is not in, who he's like low key. Let's say he's not the devil, he's low key, you know. He's this trickster aspect who's always trying to trick Thor and Odin and Freya and all the other gods, you know, and somehow, so he's actually a underground daemon, okay, a daemon who's not favored by the conscious attitude, the the god
He
of
didn't
light.
seem evil at all. He's in this
No,
dream. He
that's
was
what I'm saying.
explicitly helping me.
Well, yeah,
Like,
and he's giving you trials and tests. He's strengthening your ego so that you can become more embodied and coagulated. That means to gain earth, to have more substance. Earth is substance, it's matter, to be more feminine. When you have more earth, you are more in touch with the feminine aspect, and you're moving away from this this non-anchored aspect of the of thinking and consciousness, you know. Okay, and then now you're in the living room with Chase and his dad. So this is your mother's sister's son.
no, this is, remember the Dark Sailor?
Yes, the dark sailor, the one that had the
Yeah.
whirligig eyes.
Yes,
So
that's
he's just
him.
your friend, and you're with
Yeah.
him. He's actually slightly schizophrenic, right? Possibly.
He was severely schizophrenic.
Yeah. Mhm. But now he's sort of he's on all these
Yeah, he's a
drugs
burnt out
that
volcano.
it just makes him a burnout volcano. Yeah. And so now you're in there with some colored pencils and you are trying to leave. Now, this is really interesting. You know, you mentioned too, and I just wanted to bring this up as far as Tim's concerned, the attic with these angled walls and the sheet that the primitive woman was making this so almost a similar aspect. He mentioned that fornication means the vaulted gateway. And it really does, because a fornica is a vaulted gateway, you know, and that was where the women of the night would gather, you know, trying to, you know, men walking through the streets, they would stand there to be out of the rain and be available to men. So that's where the word fornication came from, that you would go to these entranceways. I don't know, Tim, it's just that if that is really in your dream, it's a miracle. I mean, it's amazing that would come up. But anyway, so now you're in a tent and that's transparent, and you drop the pencils on the floor. You ask them if they can see you through it, and they say yes. Now, can you just remind me? I had a little dog problem. It was back to where the police officer shows up with the baby boy who's the orphan. What happened between them recognizing that you were? Because I did.
So they say they can see me, and I laugh, saying like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. You know, I can see you guys. I guess these sheets are completely transparent." And yeah, the officer knocks on the door. I run over to the couch and hide under the blanket. And yeah, and then, you know, he has a baby boy.
And then he has a baby boy. So the devil's wanting us to embody and coagulate. We go into this living room, lit only by the television set, by this guy who's sort of the dark sailor. And by the dark sailor, can you just remind us what that means? Because I knew it really clearly when we talked about it last time, or it was clear.
It's like the negative aspect of someone going to explore the unconscious. And
yes.
The way I put it was there's two different polarities. Like one, some people go to explore the unconscious to experience reality, and other people go to the unconscious to escape from reality.
Yeah, because he wants you to get drunk or something. He and his girlfriend are on drugs all the time, and so they're using the unconscious in a negative fashion. They just want to snuff out ego there. That's what there's no transformational aspect. So that's what you meant by the dark sailor. He sails the unconscious sea, but it is not to transform. It's just to obliterate ego, basically, you know, or to just he loves the bliss of this lunar realm, and he just wants to what Jung told James Joyce about his daughter, you know, that she's drowning in the water in which you're swimming, you know. So Chase is sort of that figure. By the way, his daughter was just absolutely amazing person. I mean, you shouldn't underrate her. But anyway, so then you're trying to leave. You've got colored pencils. You've got something to do with some type of the aspects of the feeling function. So the colored pencils just represent the feeling function. You know, I mean, the aspect of an impressionist painting, you know, the aspect of just 1,000 colors. There was there was a very famous genre of painting that was just these fabulously rich colors. Do you remember that, Tim? It was just, I don't remember what it was, but anyway, you're with the feeling function. You drop it on the floor and you ask them if they can see you. There's sort of a sheet between you and them. I'm not exactly sure. We aren't going to get to it, but anyway, and then this aspect of that you are showing up there. You're the orphan boy, and now you're going to heal yourself by taking care of another baby. And so this is this is the task and trial that this low-key figure is giving us, the underground daemon. Roy, let's just hear a few comments about it, and then next time we'll really go at it, and I'll have it in the text too.
Yeah, the plot thickens for Charles, but it's looking a lot better this time. He doesn't want to wind up like Chase. You know, he's sort of really getting it. He's hiding under the sheets with his fantasy world, but he finds out that people can see in. You know, he can't. There's nowhere to hide. And then the police officer breaks in. That's sort of Saturn, or the authority figure. It says, "Okay, son, you got to deal with this. You know, you have to deal with this baby." And you can see the baby's in trouble. He's got tattoos and a pierced nose. He's not civilized at all.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so, you know, this is what the collective unconscious is telling Charles. Okay, this is where it's really at. This is what you have to deal with. You know, are you up to it? Are you up to the chase?
That is, yeah, that is absolutely perfect, right on. What do you think, Gary? I mean, it's perfect. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I really like that. I think that's
beautiful.
That's exactly it. Because, you know, hiding under the sheet, I mean, and he even sees it's transparent, and yet, you know, it's something that a kid would do. And then when the authority figure comes, it's not something that he wants to deal with, you know. He looks for a new hiding place where hopefully won't be seen. But, you know, in his heart of hearts, he already knows that, you know, the task that's being delivered is his to deal with. And, you know, I think Roy's got it exactly, you know, that the baby has already had, you know, transformations done on it, which simply aren't appropriate, you know, it's not civilized. So, yeah.
It's an incredible image of that baby coming in. Like Roy said, it is a great development in Charles. What do you think, Tim?
Boy, I think you guys nailed it. I don't think I have anything to add.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think now, Charles, we're gonna go at this exhaustively next time, but do you have any other comments about it?
I just let me see if I can. Yeah, it made me think of another dream that I had. I don't know if you guys remember this one, but let me just share this real quick. I don't know if you guys remember this one where the choir,
Oh yes,
the choir was singing "Bless all of your sins," and it was a coagulation dream. And then like, hold on, you guys see that one? The man with the ring around him. That was the other image.
yes.
Had in it was like blood around his face and around his body. And yeah, I was saying, bless all of your sins. And yeah, it was definitely a dream. Oh, that was one of the biggest dreams I've ever had. And it just instantly made me think of that dream. But I don't know, the dream was very profound to me, and really struck me when I woke up. And I feel very thankful to remember it.
Yeah, I think this is a dream of a great challenge to us. I think have you ever had a dream, I think, that has more humanity in it, more of the visceral aspect of being alive when that baby's brought to you? And what, could you describe your reaction again? You had a reaction.
When the baby shows up?
Yeah, and you know that you need.
Oh, I just burst into tears and was just like, you know, just kind of heartbroken over the fact that the baby was abandoned. And then very, you know, I felt this heavy weight on my heart that now I was to be the one to take care of him.
Yeah, I wanted to show you this is sort of a dark sailor here, if I can get it up here. Let's see. There we go. This is Lucia Joyce here. That's young, or James Joyce's daughter. One who was this, supposedly young, said, she reminds me a lot of my wife's sister. She was just this absolutely incredible being. And yet she, was just wounded so much. I mean, she's absolutely wounded. There's still another picture of her. She was a dancer, and I don't know. I just thought she was. Oh, here it comes. There we go. But I mean, she was sort of this dark sailor. She's just this absolutely wonderful dancer. Oops. And then I'll show you one more. She's this one here. This is a little small. But anyway,
So
she had all these.
This is the daughter that Joyce wrote to him about?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, she was quite you can see why he was so concerned about her. She's very artistic. She's a wonderful person. There was nothing weak about her other than her somewhat. She just, that's her. Yeah. She's just a wonderful person, I think. I mean, she's kind of written off, but in herself, she was quite something. Well, anyway, we're ready. Wednesday, we're going to go at this, and I'll have the text to the dream. Gary, you haven't had any dreams lately, have you? Okay. Dry homes. I have them, but they're crazy. I mean, they're so mundane. They're crazy. What do you got, Tim? You got a dream?
Yeah, I do. Do you want me to put it in?
Yeah, why don't you? Yeah.
Okay. This is from about a month ago.
Mm-hmm. It's just I'm just saying, Tim, your dreams have meant a lot to me. I mean, as far as it's there.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning. I learn so much from your dreams. I'm just saying, I don't know if you do, but I do.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, this is real parallel to Roy's.
Yeah.
Seems to me.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and read it.
It's called No Passage. I'm at a kind of pavilion at the end of a dock, and my Iranian friend has shared with me parts of her journal in a little book. I don't know where she is, but I'm sitting on a little table looking through the book when an irritating man comes up, sees it, and takes it. I say, it's her journal, it's private. And he says he won't look, but then he doesn't give it back. Upon my return, there's an officer at a table and a robot who's checking that everyone has a pass in order to get through some kind of a checkpoint. When he gets to me, an alarm goes off and he won't let me pass. I'm trying to think if that's the robot or the man, but anyway, I'm puzzled, but I'm wearing a heavy sweater, which I take off and throw onto the other side of the barrier. Then the robot has me lift my arms and turn around and bend at the waist. I say to the officer, what the heck does he want from me?
Now, this is very interesting. I mean, it's, the dreams that we've had about the tower, the animals. I mean, there's just been, lately, there has been each time a very, a crazily a distinct shift in themes. And I think that there's a message in that. So this is called No Passage. You're at a kind of a pavilion at the end of a dock. So this is I'm thinking of the wharf in Chicago or something. You know, there's all kinds of pavilions on that dock, or you know, where the one where on Saturday Night Live they always would say cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. I don't know if you ever remember that, but we've been on that little dock where there's pavilions on it, and you're at the end of the dock. Your Persian friend, she's from Persia. You know, she's from the place between the East and the West. You know, this wonderful place between the East and the West that has adapted. If it wasn't for its Islamic aspect, the Sufi aspect, it is a place of you know, this Henri Corbin was just fascinated by it. So was Peter Kingsley, because these were the greatest practitioners of visioning in the world at the time. You know, who actually had these extremely Rumi, you know, and all these wonderful Persian poets, you know, who were just absolutely fabulous. So anyway, she has a journal. She's Persian, so she's someone who's related to Rumi. You know, I mean, someone who's and she has a journal. She shared with you parts of her journal in a little book. So I'm just thinking that, you know, it's like now Rumi, when he writes, he's absolutely so everything he says is a revelation, you know, and it is a revelation, I think, to him too. But anyway, we are starting, she shared it with us, and I don't know where she is, but you're sitting at a little table looking through the book when an irritating man comes up and sees it and takes it. Okay? Why would he do that? Why would he see it and take it from us? Oh, I mean, it's just crazy that he would, you know, just walk up to us, jerk it right out of her hand. And you say it's her journal, it's private. Now he says he won't look at it. I won't look at it. You're not going to get it back, but I'm not. I won't. I'm not completely unreasonable. Yes, I'm stealing her journal, but I promise you, I'm a moral stealer. I'm not going to look at it, you know. And anyway, so now then he doesn't give it back. Now, upon my return, now return to where?
I don't remember.
Okay, upon my return, there's an officer.
Maybe.
Oh, you
maybe
were chasing after him.
No, I think the pavilion is connected to another building and
Okay.
return to the building.
So yeah, so you're returning from the pavilion, and there's an officer at a table, and a robot is checking. Now the robot, this mechanical aspect that is, now the mechanical aspect of it is that it is okay, there's the difference between justice and mercy, you know, that there's an aspect that you know that if you can't make decisions based on the context of the situation, that you're just going to apply strict rules to everyone, no exceptions, versus someone who's more human, who sees first a human being there, not some person who we're going to check all his paperwork, you know. And when he gets to me, an alarm goes off, he won't let me pass. Okay, so he's like, Roy, like you said, you don't have the right idea. Now you're puzzled, but you're wearing a heavy sweater, which you take off and throw onto the other side of the barrier. Then the robot has you lift your arms and turn around and bend at the waist. And you say to the officer, what the heck does he want? And the officer didn't ask answer you, did he?
No.
No, okay. So anyway, there's this, first of all, the Persian poetess. You know, she's given us this gift. Anima has given us this gift of this poetry. And the shadow steals it away from us. No, you can't have it. So there's an aspect of you that, now this is somewhat similar to, you can't go to the House of Four Women, and you can't go to Elisa's play. You can't read her journal. The shadow takes it away from you. Now here it isn't a woman blocking you, but it's the shadow. It takes it away from you. And so he takes it and he won't give it back. Okay. So that's first. Now this is an aspect of there's a feminine thing happening, and a feminine, a chance to relate with the feminine, and it's taken away from us again, you know. Okay, then we're going back in, we're facing, I think, husband justice, the one that imprisons the anima in the insane asylum. I think we're facing it ourselves here, you know, just this arbitrary, not considering the other side, you know, and that it has its right to speak, you know. So now we're facing that, and it is arbitrary, and has the fact that it's a robot. There is no possibility of compassion, human understanding, or feeling, or relationship. So there's no possibility of relationship, feeling, compassion, humanity with this force. Now, that comes right after Rumi's book is stolen from us, the female Rumi's book. What do you think, Charles? Go through and,
Well, the
and-
first
and
thing
we'll get really
that
after.
stands out to me is like, it makes me think of a dream that you had, Tim, where I believe you're in like a hotel and you try to find somebody at the desk, but there's just like some type of automated
Yes.
kiosk.
Isn't that beautiful?
I don't know, it kind of, when those images are combined, makes you think there's like some type of overall way that like when that there's just an automated way of interacting with people on some level. You know, it's not really clear, even with two images kind of saying the same thing. But that's interesting. I don't know if the connection stands out to you or if that clicks with you, but
Clicks with me.
I think what Craig said, that yeah, there's like, this also plays into the theme of not having some type of connection is blocked when having interaction with like a feminine character in a dream. And yeah, I would say it's very much sticking to the theme format within your dreams. And also the officer character, I feel like you've had dreams where the shadow character is a sort of uniform officer like. So yeah, I don't know, it's just really fitting into the theme that we've seen with your dreams. It's very interesting.
That is wonderful, Charles. The automated hotel desk. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, I see he's trying to get in touch with the feminine. Those are his feelings. He's getting a little opportunity to get in touch with his feelings, which he's really enjoying. But it reminds me of Donald Kalshed's Trauma in the Soul, where all of a sudden the earthy diamond, the diamond of the survival self, steps in and says, no, we're not going to have any of that. And he becomes persecutory. And you want to feel something, feel this. And he's not going to allow it because Tim's getting too close to something. And it's going to interfere with his survival self. You know, I'm taking that tack.
Yeah, that's we're going to really go into this depth next time. Gary, what do you think?
Seems like a dream of relatedness, because first he has this absolute precious, poetic aspect that, represents, a very important feminine part. And yet it's just taken away for no reason. Arbitrary. It just like, he's just, it's stolen. And then as soon as it's stolen, he finds that he's no longer, he's being judged on things which he can't even understand, that are not human. So a part of his humanity is taken away, of his relatedness, and then he's judged in a way that is inhuman. So that's just what I'm seeing so far. I think we've got more work to do.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's perfect. I mean, that was the cut. When that happened, suddenly it was an arbitrary decision by this irritating man. And now we went into the world of arbitrary decisions.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, you guys are really onto it. One thing Charles said that really struck me is there's an automated way of relating. And what my ego thinks of right away is, in my outer life, I'm spending so much time thinking about the conflict between the human and the machine. And I think what Charles pointed out is that's a reflection of something going on inside, that there is some kind of mechanical way of relating that needs to be addressed. And I feel like, wow, I need to do some active imagination on that.
I think you need Al. I think we could all use Al. I mean, Al is the anti-machine. Well, anyway, I love to have a chance to work on these myself personally. So, and Gary, I want you to read us a fairy tale. And Dawn, please give us one of your dreams too. If you can just email it to me, Dawn. Don't you? That spider dream was fabulous. I loved it. Well, anyway, Roy, your dream was great. Charles, your dream, and Tim's dream. Your dream particularly showed some strange thing happen. Tim's dream is, I think, just another layer of the mystery of the anima that we need to consider. So anyway, we'll pick it up again Wednesday, and I'll come fully armed. So we'll see you guys all later. Thanks, Charles,
Thanks.
Roy, Gary, Tim, and Dawn. Thank you. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.